This week on the podcast, we have Tim, also known as Face Tim or Time, we'll confirm. I think it might be FaceTime, actually. But Tim Dunk is a top commercial photographer in the UK who did something very different during lockdown, which I think probably had a major impact on his career. But we'll get into that in the interview.
Now, before we dive into the conversation, I think this is really interesting because Tim's approach to photography is literally the polar opposite to everything I do. Which is fascinating. But we come to a really good conversation towards the end about lenses, focal lengths, and the way that things are changing. Like landscape photographers are no longer using the traditional lenses. Portrait photographers are completely on their head in terms of what everyone knows. Portraits, 105 prime, 85 prime, not anymore. That has completely changed. But for context, you need to see his work first. So this won't be on the podcast version, but obviously on the YouTube version. This is Tim's phone photography. Remotely. He's not even in the same country as these people. And I just think it's fascinating that he's made such a big career. 'Cause everyone's seen the episode where someone shoots a wedding on an iPhone. But these are commercial images. Oh, that's my old agent. There's Lisa. There's Chloe, the producer. She was lovely. You know, these are commercial jobs. These are actual big clients paying actual big money for actual big photo shoots. And he does such a great job. And it is just so different to what's on YouTube. And photographers like this, they're not accessible to most people on YouTube just because they're busy working. They're not available to look at and to dive into. So here's Tim. This is work. Please enjoy the conversation.
This week's video is sponsored by the Litme Cozy Fit headphones, but more on them later in the video.
Obviously, your name is Tim Dunk, but your remote shooting is called, what's that called?
It's all just so messy, but like when I was just doing it for fun with my mates through FaceTime originally, one of my mates was like, "You should call yourself Face Tim. That's great." And I was like, "That is great. That's a great dad joke. I'm going to go with that." So that sort of became what my remote photography was under for a good while, and then I started getting like more real, like serious commercial work through it. And I sort of bottled it a bit on the gag. And I was like, no, I just need to actually be using my actual name at this point when I'm talking to big serious companies. I mean, I think I had a client in America who was like, "Tim, just use your name, like for this kind of stuff. Like we're all grown up, so we want to know what your real name is." So I kind of went back to that a bit. So I guess now I have like multiple personalities, and I find that I'd absolutely, if this is going out to people as like advice, that is like advice is try not to have multiple personalities online because it's really hard, like keeping on top of them and remembering which person you're supposed to be at any given moment.
Yeah, branding's important.
So I am like an absolute case study in how not to brand. I'm very like fractured in that. I was speaking to somebody about it the other day. I was like, so I have 6 Instagram accounts, 4 websites, and they were like looking at me like I had 3 heads, and I was sort of feeling like I had 3 heads. Like I spend a lot of time doing that. They all feel so different to me that kind of trying to cram everything together into one unified thing doesn't work for me. Niching down is another thing. Everyone's like, "Tim, you should really," doesn't really work for me. I have like a creative brain, let's say, and creative approach to it all.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's start at the very beginning then. Because obviously I only know you from when you signed with Lisa. Are you still with Lisa Pritchard?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I only became aware of you when you signed with Lisa Pritchard. I was like, "Oh, what's this? This is exciting." What was going on before that? Where did you start out in photography? How did it all begin?
I started out probably like a lot of people. I got absolutely no training, no qualifications, no schooling. My ex-partner wanted a camera for Christmas one year. I got her a camera for Christmas. I ended up using it more than she did. Kind of just went from there.
And how old were you then? When was this? How old were you at this point?
This would have been probably 14, 15 years ago. So I would have been in my mid-20s. I was working backstage in theatre. I was working a lot of hours, had a lot of downtime at work, kind of waiting for scene changes to need to happen. And it was really cool to have, something to fill that time with and put my energies into. It always really makes me laugh whenever anybody kind of assumes that any of my abilities now are like natural inbuilt talent. Because absolutely, that is not the case. Like, I worked hard for this. I put in the hours, and I stuck with it. And I just loved it. I absolutely loved photographing people. Like, that's exclusively. Got absolutely no interest in photographing anything that doesn't laugh at my jokes. That's my criteria for whether or not I'm going to take a job.
So how long did it take you from like going, I like this, to getting your first like job?
I liked it. I was doing it. I started kind of doing headshots I was in the theatre, so it's obviously you've got a big pool of people who are just happy to be photographed. Did a bit of that. Got like literally emotionally blackmailed into photographing somebody's wedding. It was a case of, she genuinely said to me, Tim, I'm not asking anybody else, so either you come and take pictures of my wedding or I won't have any pictures of my wedding. I have no expectations other than you being there and bringing a camera. So did that. Other people saw the pictures, kind of spiraled a little bit out of control from there. Great guy who lives near me started recommending me to couples when he was already booked. And really rapidly, I went from being somebody mucking about with a camera in the crew room at work to being a wedding photographer with quite a lot of bookings and doing all right at that. Kind of being part of that community.
Yeah, I had a similar in actually doing weddings, and the bit which nobody tells you about is when you decide you've had enough, you've probably got another 2 to 3 years of shooting weddings that you've already pre-booked after that point. Literally
that. And then the pandemic happened, and that was just an utterly, I don't need to tell anybody how weird that was. But it made me realise how much I love weekends and how much I love spending weekends with my daughter, and how much I value that over what was, easy regular income, actually. So I feel like I've stepped off weddings are like, you don't get the freelance roller coaster with them because you get booked like a year and a half in advance. And when when you're experienced and you're good at it, then it's not really a problem to book them in. So you never like, where's my next mortgage payment coming from? So stepping away from that has been interesting. It's been a really interesting kind of step back onto that roller coaster. Did you do like the 50% up front, 50% before the day for booking weddings? How did you used to bill it for that? Not exactly those numbers, but it was 500 up front and then the remainder kind of the month before. So there was never any like existential dread about where the next job was coming from. When I was doing, peak summer, we were shooting 3 weddings a week.
And obviously during the winter it was a bit sparse, but you'd made so much money you didn't care. It was like, this is great. And it was, I don't want to say it was easy money, because obviously we work like dogs. You go to all the wedding fairs, you do the website, the socials, all the rest of it is hard work. And the weddings themselves are brutally stressful. Well, I found them brutally stressful, especially the key moments. Like you're going to get the first kiss and like the auntie stands in the middle of the aisle in front of you with the iPad for whatever reason, because the phone wasn't big enough.
I think it wasn't so much like feeling or consciously feeling stress on the day. It's for me, it's like that introverted extrovert thing. Like I can be that kind of that guy that like, hey everybody, this is great, this is the best day ever for a day, but it takes me 3 days to recover. Like I need to kind of sit and rock in a dark room going, please nobody look at me. Like I just need to recharge the batteries again.
So obviously that you're doing that right up until COVID, the weddings.
Yeah.
How did you pivot out of that? What happened at that point? Because it's funny enough, that's when my career changed as well. I went from being a portrait photographer commercially with one agent to signing with Lisa as a still life photographer, which I was not known as at all.
The Litme Cozy Fit open-ear headphones offer premium stereo sound, crystal clear telephone calls, which is great for me when I'm walking the dog, an ultralight 0.23 ounce of weight, soft silicone wrap, so if like me you sleep with headphones on, you don't end up digging them into your ear, water resistance, and a 24-hour battery life for playing music, which is absolutely what we be wanting. They come in a sleek, stylish case where they can also be recharged. The units themselves are super soft and super lightweight, which I love, and they're a brilliant accessory for your day-to-day living. I get most of my use from these headphones whilst out walking my dog, as I've said, listening to podcasts, listening to music, but because they're not fully in-ear headphones, it means you can still hear your surroundings, which is a great safety feature and also good for me so I can hear other dogs coming around the corner. You can pick up your own set on the link in the description and in the pinned comment below.
I was FaceTiming with my daughter, who was like 6 or 7 at the time, and a notification flashed up on the screen saying, Nelly took a photo of you. And I said, what did you just do? And she said, oh, you just press this button, Dad. And I was like, well, don't. Like, I'm trying to have a conversation with you. Leave me alone. Don't take pictures of me. But a couple of days maybe later, I was like, hang on a minute. That might be a way of just seeing my mates and having an excuse and kind of checking in on some people and having a bit of fun. And this was pretty early on in the whole lockdown thing. So I literally put a post on Facebook, and I get like a reminder of it each year. And it's just like, I'm losing my mind. Does anybody want to try doing a photo shoot through FaceTime? And enough people did. And it just again spiraled out of control from there. It went from being something that I did with 6 mates, just being silly and fun. And people cottoned onto it pretty quickly that there was something fun happening in the world, and I got a lot of like media coverage for it. And honestly, like the pictures at the beginning were pretty crap quality wise, like, but it was fun and I was enjoying it, and I did it a lot, got good at it, figured out how to direct people efficiently and effectively, how to prep people for it, how to light things, how to set everything up, how to get people to hold the phone. Quite early on, I got stuck down the back of somebody's radiator, like for quite. And I was like, "Oh, let me out!" So it's all like it's utterly bizarre and silly and surreal, but also, I've got to a point now where the work I'm able to produce through people's phones, because the significant change was somebody developed an app or two separate entities develop two apps that do effectively the same thing, which is I can be on a video call with you and I can be controlling your phone camera and shooting raw images.
Nice.
And controlling the exposure, controlling all of the settings that you have access to on your phone camera, I have access to, and then it sends me like the full raw file. So obviously that was a complete game changer. And now, like I'm still daily blowing my own mind with the quality of the work that I'm able to produce, of people in Russia or China or wherever it is that the client wants me to be shooting.
So how did you go from doing that with your mates to then getting an agent? Yeah. How did that come about? Did you approach Lisa? Did Lisa approach you? What was the...
I got a job. I got approached by somebody wanting photos for... lots of companies had sort of pre-booked ad space.
Yeah.
And then found themselves with these and nothing to fill them with. So I shot like a billboard campaign that was all over London for jewelers. And I was photographing couples in all over the place who had used this jeweler, and they had a big campaign about it, which was great. And Lisa has like a pop-up agent service. And I was like, this is not my world. I do not know anything about this. So I'm not sure if I was with her. We're going back sort of 4.5 years to a time that was, for obvious reasons, like a bit difficult to kind of keep track of things.
The timeline's got a bit skew with back there.
Yeah. Exactly. So, but no, Lisa has a pop-up agent service, which is great. You can kind of go to her and say, I've had this approach from this company. It's not my world. I don't know, I literally no idea what to say to them, what conversation to have with them, what to be asking them. So I used the pop-up agent service a couple of times, and then Lisa was like, Tim, I think you've got a great product here. I think there's going to be a lot of demand for it. Would you like to come onto my roster? Which was great. It's really brilliant. She does an amazing job of negotiating fees. Particularly, like a couple of times, there were fees that, if it had just been me, I'd have thought that I was pushing things, and Lisa's come in and kind of, negotiated 10, 12 times what the figure in my head was, which is, that's what agents are for, right?
Absolutely. They have no shame in asking for more money. I remember my first agent, he was like, what's the least amount of money you'd want for this? I was like, $5,000. And he came back with a number for me that I was embarrassed that he went, I've got them to agree to this much money. And I was like, why? He went, because I'm an agent and I get commission. I was like, fair enough.
Obviously, it's in their interests to just inflate it as high as they possibly can.
Absolutely. And I'd have been so embarrassed. Yes, it's brilliant. I think having an agent for people like us who... I think I'm a pretty good self-advocate, but not in the same way that agents have been. I've never been disappointed with the number they've come back with.
And today's sponsor is Fujifilm. As you know, the Fujifilm GFX system is my camera of choice and has been all year. We use it for the larger than full frame sensor, the great color depth and the usability. It's been a great asset to have those 100 megapixels on set, especially for post-production and commercial work. The other amazing benefit to the Fujifilm system is the colors. I've been using Velvia in recent months, and just to have that starting point before you go into post-production is so useful, and it just makes so much sense to me coming from like a film stock background of going, yes, this is what we want. We want the saturation, we want the detail, the smooth tonality. Velvia is obviously the choice for me. And of course, you can choose from any of their famous film stocks from back in the day and have that brought directly into your digital camera.
What did you end up shooting commercially then? I assume you can say what you shot commercially.
for some of it, or
yeah, I mean, I assume that I can say that I've worked for Apple, I've worked for Google, I've worked for Reebok, I've worked for some big sort of international pharmaceutical companies. Done some really great work. One of my absolute of all time best pictures were for a pharmaceutical company, and because of the fact that I was photographing patients, that I got a complete. I can't share any of it anywhere, and it just kills me because they're honestly the best work I've ever shot. Photographing these amazing people in Brazil and in just all over the place, and the relationships that we were able to build with those people, and the fact that they're not models or model types, and the fact that there was a range of ages, and you were able to show these incredible connected portraits of people literally the other side of the world. So that's a job for myself. Is I need to get a project going where I'm able to get similar sorts of images, because it's just honestly it's phenomenal what is possible with it.
Yeah, and I think one of the obviously that's a client list that most people dream of, and you're doing it with a phone. We're not even in the room with them.
I'm not. I'm sat either in my studio in Leeds or at my kitchen table. Shooting all over the world. I set myself a challenge. I kind of got to a point where I was like, wow, I've been absolutely nailing this. I want to give myself a difficult challenge. So I decided that I was going to photograph one person in every state of America in a day. And so I did. I made that happen. I started the day with 35 people booked. And as I was shooting people, I was saying, do you know anyone in Pennsylvania? Can you just get somebody? Honestly, it was madness. And I got all the way to the end, and New Hampshire or something. I was beginning to think that it was a fictional place. Nobody. I'd shot in 49 other states, and nobody knew anybody who lived in New Hampshire. But at the last minute, this guy came through. It was a friend of a friend of a friend. I don't know. But he was there, in his big outdoor chicken coop with his big beard and his death metal T-shirt, and I was like, "This is such a great way to end this project." I like to keep myself busy with mad projects because it's kind of just showing what's possible with the medium.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, do you own a normal camera which isn't attached to a phone or a laptop? Do you have cameras? Yeah,
I do.
What do you use outside of that sort of stuff? What's your go-to?
I'm on Canon at the moment. I've got a little Fuji X100 for kind of walkabout stuff, which is nice. I think honestly, my daughter uses that more than I do at the moment. Like everybody, I've got thousands, tens of thousands of pounds worth of kit, and I use my phone to take pictures of most things when I'm out and about because it's
I'm
just
the same.
in
My phone's always in my pocket. Go on holiday, take my phone. I often take a camera and don't use it. You pack the X100 in your bag. It's doesn't quite fit in my pocket. I'll leave that at home.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
So how often are you shooting on real cameras, but you know what I mean? How often are you shooting on what most people would consume a camera compared to a phone?
Yeah, two or three times a week. I have a studio. I do a bit of studio photography. I do portfolio shoots for dancers. I do headshots. I do just odd bits of kind of corporate work. Just like most people, if I've got nothing else on that day and somebody says, will you come and do this for a couple of £100, whatever, it's round the corner, it's an hour, then you just say yes to things, don't you? So yeah, I have a varied and interesting, it's never dull.
So are you shooting most weeks then? It sounds like you're pretty regular on the old shooting front.
Yeah, doing something most weeks, whether it's remote or in person. Yeah, it's yeah. I can't think of a week recently when I haven't been shooting something.
I know a lot of portrait photographers shoot all the time. Like for me, I shoot maybe once a month. And I speak to my mates, like, what do you mean shoot once a month? I was like, well, maybe once a month to do a shoot. He was like, what about the rest of the days? I was like, well, we don't shoot on those days. And they're not shooting days. I was like, there aren't enough clients.
The thing I think I'm like the opposite of you, whereby if I'm shooting, then I know what I'm doing. Right?
Yeah.
If like I've got a shoot today, get up and go do my shoot, and then I've got some editing to do, and I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's the days when I'm not shooting, and I'm like, well, I know that there's 600 things that I should be doing for my business, and how on earth does anybody choose out of 600 things? And there's a really nice park just down the road, so I'm going to go for a good walk and wait for the next kind of job to fall into my lap, which is probably not the right way of doing things.
Well, I've got friends who are daily shooters. They shoot every single day of the week, 7 days a week, non-stop shooting. And whether it's personal work or paid work, they're shooting every day. And I used to shoot loads. When I was a portrait photographer, especially locally, I'd probably do like 300 to 400 jobs a year, including like headshots, weddings, portraits, commercials, everything. And I've just done less and less as the years have gone by. I seem to be like, people offer me a job and I'm like, well, I don't know if it is. I think to a point doing too much is bad, but I think I've gone full circle. And now I'm like, when it comes to do a shoot, I'm thinking, I think I remember how it works. It's
sure.
I probably spend more time filming YouTube videos than I do actually behind a commercial camera in terms of like hours put in. Which I don't know if it's good or bad. But since moving back to portraits, which is something I've done in the last couple of years, my new agent, I've noticed the shooting is much more regular than doing still life. Like there are so many more small jobs. You don't get many small, it's like still life jobs. They're either they're monstrous or it's e-commerce. There's not much in between. Whereas portraits is like someone needs a headshot. Someone clothing line's got a new.
Always people.
There's so much
There's
of
always
it.
people.
Yeah, so I'm kind of looking forward next year to shooting more regularly again. I don't know if I could shoot weekly. I think I'm too old now. I definitely feel like I'm sat here now and I keep doing this because my back's aching. Because my dog ran after a squirrel whilst I was holding the lead and it yanked at the end. So of course now my back's ruined. I was like,
exactly.
Jeez Christ. And my camera's heavy. I don't want to hold that. I was like bad back in a camera. It's heavy and move the lights around and stuff. It's just, I've definitely become lazy being a still life photographer. It's a different lifestyle, having gone from weddings to portraiture to still life. It's like weddings are the worst in terms of physical abuse. Portraiture is just busy and it's lots of socializing. I used to drink quite a lot afterwards because of that. And then still life is just like, there's like some Zen garden. It's like, we've got Frank Sinatra blaring out of the radio. It's just, it's nice and calm. I don't even have to hold the camera. It's on a stand. And my first foray back into portraits again after that was brutal. I did 2 days to shoot my entire portrait portfolio and it must have taken me a month to recover. I was like, I've talked so much. There's so many people. They're all chatting. It's horrible. But it's I think it's interesting the way that different people organize their work, like the work world. Like you do, like well, if I keep doing these things, I keep on task and I keep busy. Whereas I'm the opposite. I'm like, let's do nothing and work out what part of the business we should be working on next. And like the opposite end of the spectrum, but we do the same thing.
Strategy is like a foreign concept to me. I'm very much like in the moment, kind of a reactive at the moment. That's something I'm trying to work on, I would like to.
As I said, I think our career is one of those great ones where you can be either and successful. Like you can be formulaic and meticulous, or you can be like some of the creatives I know. I don't even know how to make it to set on time. Like I'm just like, how have you even arrived today? And they're massively successful because as long as you've got one of the two things sorted, you're either really creative or you're definitely on it. You can make a career in it. It's when you're a bit of both. It's probably a bad sign.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously I was going to ask, like, are you going to carry on with the sort of remote shooting stuff? But obviously that is definitely something that's happening for you, like continuing doing the remote shooting. What percentage of your business is, in terms of a monetary value, remote shooting versus camera shooting?
God, it's really hard because the big jobs, the big commercial jobs, are remote and they're lucrative, but not consistent. But yeah, so over the last 4 years, I mean, easily half my income has been remote, if not maybe a bit more. It's just, those big jobs. It's just trying to get them more consistently and knowing that is going to involve more kind of cold calling basically than I'm currently doing. I'm not a natural self-promoter.
I don't think many photographers are, but again, that's what agents are for. Like my agent's out all the time with my book, going to meetings, and I think his current marketing strategy is to get the client wasted so they have a good time. That's his,
great.
Like, do you need my book? No, don't worry about that. We don't need that. We're just we're going to have a good time. Well, all right, works for me. So, I mean, obviously, a lot of people listen to this will be stressing about their camera kit. Like, have I got the right camera? Is it good enough? And there's you using somebody's phone, which probably isn't even the latest phone.
No, I did like an amazing shoot in like maybe Uruguay with an iPhone 6, and the pictures are great. Like if you light things properly, then it doesn't matter. Like the reason why as wedding photographers and things, people are like, oh, I need XYZ big beast camera is because a lot of the time we have no control over the lighting, and a lot of the time the lighting is dreadful objectively. Like, so when you're in the brilliant position that I'm in to be able to absolutely dictate where photos happen, you can make incredible pictures with very basic technology.
Yeah, I think that, again, like if you're shooting weddings or the Olympics or like a war documentary, maybe your phone's not the best thing to have. You could definitely do it with that. But when you
absolutely can
complete control, you don't need that much tech. Like in my studio, whether I use like my Fuji, which is pretty much as good as you can get, or an old film camera, we're probably getting
it's going to look great
results.
if you light it well, then that's it. It's funny how when clients come into a session, they have ideas about where they'd like to be photographed, and how quickly I have to go, like that, your bookcase and whatever, it all looks great, but the light is dog shit. We're out. We've got to go and like find the light, and people end up being photographed like in their junk room or their laundry room or the downstairs toilet, because that's just where the best light is, and it doesn't really matter. Like nobody can see that they're literally sitting on the downstairs toilet being photographed. Because that, you just go where the light is, and you get really good at sniffing out the light and kind of pushing people to go, I know you don't want to let me in that room, but I know where the sun is in the sky, and I'm just going to put you right by the window, and we're not going to see that it's your home gym or whatever. Like that's just where the light is.
Yeah, and I think as well, once you've got rid of all those other distractions, like on a set where you've got like a 10-man crew and like lights everywhere and cameras, and it's like, we just need to find the good light. Once we've got that,
that's it.
Then we've just got to pose
it's
you
me
nicely.
and them, and that makes it a collaboration between me and them. So by the time I'm taking pictures, all of their barriers are down. Like they've been involved in the process. They've built a ridiculous tower out of shoeboxes to put the phone on, because most people don't have a tripod at home. And in fact, tripods are like, it's often worse when people do, because they have a tripod but they don't know how to use it. And it just, and then they get stressed because they're like, oh, I can't make it work. And actually, I've developed lots of ways of just making it a really smooth, easy, fun process. And I think that really translates into the images that I'm able to get of people.
So what's because people can be like, yeah, it's great that you can do that, but obviously a real camera's better. What's the biggest drawback of using a phone camera compared to a SLR, for example?
Wow. It's such a different beast. Like, using a phone camera gets me into places, obviously, that I can't physically be, but it gets just a completely different experience for the person that's being photographed than having a bloke in their house with a big camera in their face. They're just having a chat on the phone. And like, if you could side by side an SLR picture and a phone picture in that scenario, then the SLR picture is going to reproduce bigger and better. But there is no way of reproducing that image of that person, because it's such a different experience. So like, I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody that pixel for pixel, a phone is going to outshoot the latest Fuji, whatever. But it's not about that. It's about getting a portrait of somebody, and building a connection with somebody, and being able to do that anywhere in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I think, like, I mean, obviously in my studio doing still life, we can have the biggest camera in the world on a massive stand, and you don't have to worry about logistics in any way whatsoever. It's like, don't have to hold it. Weight, ergonomics, none of that matters. Just like, what's the most image quality we can get for this much money? But if you're shooting either in a tight spot, in a dangerous spot, or like you remotely, then you make sacrifices on the absolute in terms of literal image quality, because the image itself is of higher quality than no image anyway to start with. And also you just logistically can't do it. Like, you can't do it. And I think there's also an aesthetic, at least from my view of your work, there's an aesthetic to a phone photograph that I'm sure you can reproduce it with a real camera, but why spend hours in post trying to make it look, it's like people go, made it look like film. I'm like, shoot film. Like, there's a quicker way to do this. Just go shoot film. But there's an aesthetic to iPhone photographs, and it's an aesthetic that maybe people over the age of 40 aren't as interested in, who are male photographers who like tech. But your average person on the street does. And there's a reason why headshot photographers struggle photographing younger people, because they see themselves through a wide angle lens. And then you're going to put on a 105mm traditional portrait lens, and their face looks flat to them. Like, because the compression's changed. And even when I was doing portraits years ago, we went from 105 to 85 to 50mm for headshots, because the younger people were like, I don't like the way my face looks. And then they'd pull out their iPhone and show me their selfies. And I'm like, oh, that's a pretty wide lens we've got going on here. We need to shoot in a wider lens to give them the look they want, because what's traditionally a good portrait lens today is not.
It just isn't. I shoot headshots on a 35, which is like madness to
no one would have
of a certain generation. But like that's how I see. Like, I might as well have a 35 glued onto my camera, really. apart from the times when I put a 24 on when I'm working with dancers and I want to like elongate the limbs a bit. But
yeah, it's fascinating. The sort of like archaic sort of like if you want to shoot portraits and headshots, you want a 105mm prime or the 85mm prime. If you want to get a bit close and get a bit more depth to it.
Yeah,
it's like not anymore, mate. Yeah, like you said, I was on 50 and this was years ago. And you're on 35 now. So I mean, what is it like? Do you know what an iPhone lens is equivalent to? I've never even looked into it. It looks pretty wide.
That's a great question. It's pretty wide. I don't know the exact.
Can I Google it quickly? Let's have a look. Is this the sort of thing I can quickly bang into Google? Help me click on the right tab. iPhone lens equivalent.
35mm equivalent.
Yeah. Let's put 35mm in. It's equivalent to 35mm. Oh, and then hang on, that's not right. Trust ChatGPT to be incorrect. Okay, finding actual focal length, not equivalent. Goodness me, this is harder to find than you'd expect it would be. Oh my word. No, I don't know. Can't easily find it out. ChatGPT gives an answer, but it's the 1.5 focal length of the iPhone is equivalent. Right. Oh no, it's equivalent to 35mm.
Right. Yeah.
And then the 1 times, which is like the standard, is the equivalent to a 28mm lens. So if you go to the wide, it's equivalent to a 28, but obviously it distorts more because it's a much wider lens. It's like a couple of mil, but that explains why they all want to have these super wide portraits nowadays. And and the client is always right. I guess if that's what they want, there's no point going, well, traditionally, what we like to do is pull out the 105. So remember that was always
you've got to show people how they see themselves, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting using 35 for a headshot though. It's makes perfect sense to do that, but it's I don't think I know any of the photographers. What does Platon use? He's on a wide lens, isn't he?
Yeah.
I'm sure that was like 24mm equivalent, doesn't it? It's on a 6.6 though. But
I don't think I'd go down. I don't think I'd go down to the local camera club and tell them that I was shooting headshots on a 35.
You know, I went to do a talk a few years ago at a big camera society thing, and they wanted me to do a demonstration. And I was like, cool, what we can do now is blow out the background here so it's clipping and bleeding in from the side. And like everyone's hands went up. All right, what you got? But what are you going to do about the blown out highlights? Like, we're going to blow them out. You're not allowed to do that. I was like,
that's
what?
The plan.
They're like, we get deducted marks from our grading thing if we have blown out highlights. And I was like, well, that's absolute nonsense. I've blown them out. There we go. They're gone.
Yeah.
And are you allowed to do that? And I was thinking, what do you mean allowed to do it? You can do whatever you want.
Who's stopping me?
Yeah, well, apparently someone was stopping them. Loads of muddy photographs. I love a blown out highlight. But, as long as it's not my face that's blown out, I'm quite game for it. So, do you think, and this is a bit of a unanswerable question, you'd have had the success you've had in photography commercially if you hadn't have done the phone photos during lockdown?
No, absolutely not. Like the commercial success that I've had has been remote entirely. It's the being able to say to a client, I can photograph people in 6 different countries tomorrow, and I can have the pictures to you tomorrow. And they can be consistent images. They can be images of a high quality and images where people look like they're having fun because they are having fun.
And that matters.
It's just an amazing offering. And when the right person stumbles across it at the right time, they're thrilled. They're like, this is absolutely 100% what we need. Like, if that's it, like if you can provide something that is you and you're the guy, then people will pay what you're asking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, sorry, I should have asked this prior to that. Was it ever your intention to get into commercial photography?
No, I don't know if I've conveyed this very well, but intention is not really part of my life. I just just get buffeted about by the winds, going, "Oh, right, I'm doing this now. That's fun." But it's just it's photographing people. I photograph people. I photograph people well. People have fun doing it, and sometimes the right people kind of find me and go, "Oh, we need pictures of whatever." We need pictures for Sigur Ros's new album, and 2 of them are in Iceland and 1 of them's in LA.
Yeah.
And although she didn't say it was for Sigur Rós, she just said, "I've got a band and I need some pictures. Can you do it?" And then I was like on the call with them going, "Hang on a minute. I've been to see you. This is like a bit of a pinch me moment." But that was great. It was really cool to be able to do that for them. And those pictures went everywhere.
Yeah, I bet.
All over the place. Got a call from my dad going, "Your pictures are in The Guardian this morning," having his coffee and his croissant in the morning. It was like, yeah. So
that's amazing, that is. And then, I guess running off that, if you never planned to be doing this, do you still shoot weddings? Are you still shooting weddings, or...?
I don't advertise weddings.
Yeah.
So I've shot 1 wedding this year, and that was for somebody that I knew. And I have 1 wedding booked next year, and that's for somebody that I know. I don't advertise weddings, and I'm not actively looking for weddings. But you don't get to be a wedding photographer for 12 years without people deciding that you're going to photograph their wedding. And it's like,
I don't know if many people know this though, but it's like career suicide to mention that on your website to have weddings if you're a commercial photographer. Exactly. Everyone's like, what now? I don't know why it's such a dirty word. It makes no sense.
Yeah,
but it makes no sense. One of those things.
Because wedding photographers are among the best problem solvers in photography. You are wherever you are, you can be in so many different situations, and you've got to get great pictures for these people.
Yeah.
And you've got to make it work, and it might be raining and the marquee might be blowing down and whatever, and you've just got to make it work. And you can't go, "This is silly, let's stop, let's all come back next week." But as you say, it is very much within the commercial world. It's an absolute no to.
But it's like the only thing that is. It's like you can do any other form of photography, and apart from probably like boudoir or something like that. But apart from that, you pretty much, and even then, you could probably, with the right branding, get away with it.
Yeah,
but like weddings, like the dirty word.
Yeah. So that's also part of the, what I was saying about just having multiple brands and multiple faces, and not having a one clear brand. Which God, like there are days when I would love so much to just be like one. I'm Tim, and this is exactly what I do. But it's not me. I am all over the place doing all kinds of different things, and. That's how my brain is and how my life is.
Yeah, but I think you have to. There's no point in raging against it, is there? It's like I have to be meticulously organised, and I have to have everything planned. And if I try and go with it, if I try to live your life, it'd be chaos. And nothing would ever.
My life is chaos, Scott. Don't like. I just, choose to accept the chaos.
Yes. Well, my youngest brother's like that. He accepts the chaos. He goes with the flow, and I'm very envious of him because he's just like, well, what are you going to do about that? He was like, we'll just see what happens. I'm like, what do you mean we'll see what happens? Let's get a plan in place and action it. And he's like, no, it'll be all right. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
I wish I had a bit more of that in me. So to finish up with this, what is, and if we need to do a little cut here to make you have some thinking time, don't panic. What is the one bit of advice you'd give somebody who wants to get into commercial photography?
Because you said that we can cut it.
Yeah.
Like I can't.
No, you can't think. There's no pressure.
no. Like I'm just gonna regurgitate something because I watched a couple of your videos just to go like, what am I letting myself in for here? What's going on? And one of them was just saying like, just have a thing that's just you and just and it's that like don't try and do what somebody else is doing because they're always going to be better at it than you are. Find a thing that's you.
Yeah.
And do that.
Yeah. And that's obviously worked really well for you. That's like,
but that's like, that's, I'm just regurgitating what you said in the video, but it is like that's the only real thing. An agent is great.
Yep.
Super useful. But you need to have something that is just you, that nobody else is doing.
Yeah.
And whatever that looks like, for me, it's like a combination of a medium, like a way of working that not very many people are doing. And it's that and the pictures being great.
I mean, they have to be good, but it's got to be different, hasn't it? Like, there's nobody wants. Yeah. Like, if I started doing what you do now, I'd be like, yeah, that's great, but Tim does that.
There's a bit of me that's like, I always say to people, like, it's just a way of working. It's just like choosing a different camera brand, and nobody would say, well, I can't shoot on Fuji because Scott shoots on Fuji. Like it's just a way of working, and it's a way of working that suits certain people. I used to share a studio with a great photographer, and he would often like overhear me on remote shoots, and I'd be very patiently explaining to people and talking them through, and genuinely be like, no, your other left, no, not that left, like the one that is your left, like that, and just guiding people there. And he would be absolutely tearing his hair out just going like, how can you deal with these people who don't know what left is? Like, you have to have a level of empathy with people who are a bit not sure what they're doing, because everybody that I photograph, it's their first time doing a remote photo shoot. It's completely new territory for everybody, which is great, and it's exciting and it's fun, and I always try to minimize like pre-shoot conversations and recce's and all of that. Like, if ever I'm on a job and they'll be like, oh, can we do a recce beforehand? I'm like, you could, but actually the light on the day is going to be different. Everything on the day is going to be different, and you lose the magic of like going into it going, I have no idea what's about to happen. I'm like, let's go. You're like, Tim, you're in charge. Tell me what to do. And I'm always very reluctant to kind of give people very much ahead of time. I'm like, you need this app on your phone. You need this to hold the phone. You're going to need a window. Please don't book me at midnight. Like, which has definitely happened. Yeah, like it definitely has happened that people have booked in, and I'm like, right, where's the window light? And they're like, it's 11 p.m. and the sunset at 8. You're like, that's not ideal.
This is gonna be hard.
Yeah, but you make it work. You find a lamp, you get creative. It's just like super fun. I'm really, really fortunate to spend my working days just having a really fun time with people.
Oh, amazing. Oh, well, good for you. You know, not many people get to have that lifestyle, do they? Of doing something fun to start with, and also something they want to do that is also fun and also happens to pay well. Like it's a bit of a, it's the holy trinity, isn't it? Amazing. Super. Right. It's been great speaking with you. And thank you so much for your time.